Hi there, I'm Janine and this is Janine Sews. Welcome, whether you're a returning viewer or a new viewer, it's good to see you. This is Friday Sews for Friday, March 15th, 2024. I didn't record a video last week because I had nothing to say. I had nothing to show you. But this week, I actually finished off two things that were works in progress. So I'm going to show you those. I'm going to tell you about this top, talk a little bit about what I'm working on in the next few weeks, and a little bit about what's going on in life. Before I talk about the two items that I checked off on my big checklist, I do love checking things off on a checklist. I want to tell you about this top. This is a t-shirt. Long sleeve t-shirt. Let me find my information. And I mentioned this, I think, in the last video. A few videos ago, I wore a khaki green t-shirt that I had made that I had put Girl Guide badges all over. And for that pattern, for that project, I'd used McCalls 6964. Well, McCalls 6964 is now Butterick 6848. And this is a Palmer plush t-shirt pattern. So it has the fitting lines on it and a lot of guidance for fitting. And as I've said many times already this year, one of my goals for 2024 is to fit things better, not just to make things good enough, to actually make an effort to fit things better. When I've used this pattern in the past, I didn't make a lot of an effort. Maybe I did a pivot and slide instead of an FBA. This time, now that I have the fresh new pattern, I traced off the pattern pieces and I walked through the steps that they provided with the pattern for fitting, and I made a bunch of adjustments. Let's see here, I used their pattern lines and I did a high round back adjustment, which I always need, regardless, and a sway back and a 1-inch FBA. Now, for high round back adjustments, it's done a little bit differently on this pattern. You really just slash and spread across the back. The method that I normally use is Alexandra Morgan's high round back adjustment, and I'm going to put a link to that one down below. It involves spreading but also creating a dart on each shoulder, and I've had really good luck with that, and it's very fast to do once you get the hang of it. So I did those three adjustments: high round back, sway back, and an FPA. And because I did the FPA, that means there are darts in this. I'm going to stand up in a second and show you this. Then, after I had made those tissue adjustments and I was ready to cut out the fabric, I decided that I really needed to look at the shoulders, because when I've used this pattern before, the shoulders are really too big. So I used the narrow shoulder adjustment in ahead of the curve, and the shoulders are, it's hard to see because this is the same color as my wall. The shoulders are better. They're not perfect, but they're certainly better. Normally they hang down to about here. Now they're here. So I did that. Then after I had sewn it all up and I was at the point of hemming, I shortened the sleeves by 1 inch and I used a 1-inch hem. So that's actually 1 3/8 inch shorter than the pattern suggests. And I shortened the bodice by 1 5/8 inches and used a 1.5 inch hem. I'm just going to stop recording and stand up and show you the t-shirt. So here's the t-shirt. It's hard to see against the light walls, but it has bust darts, which I lined as well as I could. And then I did the high round back and the sway back adjustments on the back. And I did a narrow shoulder adjustment. It's better than the last version that I made, but it could still come up a bit. Probably 3/4 of an inch on either side. I like this length for t-shirts because it's intended to be much longer, like here. And I just find that when things are long like that, they drag you down. They get caught more on your jeans, your belly, your bum. So this is kind of the length that I've decided I like, where it just hits. The end is just where my stomach is. It's kind of my pelvis, where my stomach is not quite as prominent. The fabric that I used for this is a brushed jersey. It feels a little bit like a sweater knit. You can probably see that there is some texture to it. It is like a sweater knit. But the composition is 53% recycled poly, 15% poly, 28% viscose, and 4% elastin. I got it at Rick Rack here in Calgary. It's very soft. It's going to be a little bit staticky. Can't go in the dryer, so I guess I'm going to be pulling out some regular old fabric softener to throw into the rinse in the washing machine. It's 220 grams per square meter, but it doesn't feel heavy. This is a nice weight for cooler weather. Probably not great for very cold weather, but it's spring next week, so I should be able to wear this on days when it isn't too cold or too warm. And also the sleeves are wide enough that I can pull them up, because I do a lot of that. If I get a little bit too warm, I pull up the sleeves. I spent more time adjusting the pattern, but I'm glad that I did, because there are going to be times when I want a different t-shirt pattern, and this one is a good basic. I don't know how much I like darts in t-shirts. I think the next time I use this, I will use the Cashmerette dartless FBA method, where you really just slash in the front piece, add distance, add length, and then you stretch the back to fit the front. So you wind up with gathering there. I've used it before. It's too simple of an explanation. Just not sure about the darts. However, I wear it. I'll wear it quite a bit, I think. I like the color. Saturated colors seem to be a little bit better on me, but I don't think this washes me out too much. Let me know if you agree with that in the comments below. I checked 2 things off on my big list. The first one was my bedroom window panels. I confessed to all of you that the hems on my bedroom window panels were stapled. We needed to get blackout curtains last summer in our bedroom, because the light here, the sun is up very early in the summer and it doesn't go down till very late. And the previous owners had put in kind of sheer accordion blinds and a sheer curtain, so it didn't block out any of the light. So we wanted to get blackout curtains. I wound up getting some panels at Wayfair. I have made a lot of window treatments in my life. When I wasn't sewing clothes, I was always sewing the window treatments for every house we've lived in for the past 25 years. And I hate sewing window treatments. You have to be so precise, and I'm not always good at that. And if you want to have a pattern in the fabric and everything has to align between windows, I'm terrible at that. Which is why I just bought some blackout curtain panels at Wayfair. They were too long, so I stapled them up. I have been putting off hemming those for several months. And last Saturday, I just decided I had to get it done. So I took one down, measured up how much had to be taken off, which was very easy because, you know, most window treatments are very standardized. So I cut off the 3 inches and folded them up and hemmed them. There were 2 panels to be done. I had them both done in 1 hour and 5 minutes. So that's kind of procrastination at its worst. The one big project that I had really been procrastinating on was my Softshell vest that I recorded a whole video on describing the many stupid mistakes that I made, and there's a link up here to that if you want to hear about all the problems. Well, I finished the vest. Finally, It hung there and mocked me for a long time. And finally, when I was feeling very calm and centered and I didn't have to rush and the light was good, I just decided to get it finished. So what I had left to do was one of the welt pockets, the zipper, the collar, the armbands, and the hems. That was it. I had struggled with the welt pockets, so I wound up sewing them completely on the machine. You're supposed to hand stitch some of the edges on them. Sewed that on the machine, sewed the collar on the machine, and then of course the armbands were on the machine and the hem and the zipper. To very briefly rehash, the pattern that I used for this is the Cashmerette Club Murcot Vest, which is a puffer vest. So it has an outer fabric, a lining, and batting in between the two. I decided to make it out of soft shell, so there would only be one fabric. Soft shell is lovely, but it's not super easy to work with, and it's also quite bulky. So some of the techniques that they used in the Murcot vest just didn't translate easily to this. This was completely my fault. It had nothing to do with how the pattern was drafted or the design. It's because I decided to go off and try something different. In the end, I love this vest. I especially love the fabric. If I could find more of this fabric and make a jacket, I would in a heartbeat. Oh, there's a thread that has to be trimmed because it's just so pretty and it goes with so many things in my closet. Okay, so here is the Cashmerette Murcot Vest, and just as a very brief reminder, this was designed to be made with an exterior layer, a layer of batting, and a lining, and I made it out of soft shell. So the first thing that I did, because it had more bulk isn't the right word, but it was supposed to be big and puffy, so the princess seams were naturally a little bigger than I wanted because they were making space for batting. So I skimmed down the princess seams. It has welt pockets, zipper, a stand-up collar, arm bindings. There are no panels in the back. It's just a one-piece back. I love this fabric. It's a nice length. It's, oh, I will say that these arm bindings, there's no gaping at all. I didn't change anything here. Normally I have to fuss with arm openings, and I did not. These just fit super nicely. And I know it would be the exact same way if you use their recommended fabrics. So this is soft shell. It's not super drapey. It's got this nice fleece on the inside, so it's cozy. And I just finished it as much as I could. Sorry, baby. Just finished it as much as I could on the serger. Some things were not possible, so what? I added a back facing, which I often do in t-shirts and on things like this, just because I know that it makes it easier to put it on and take it off. It doesn't catch on the back of your garment, shirt underneath. Oh. Murcot vest. This fabric is so pretty, and if I could find more of it, I would definitely make a jacket. I love the print, I love the colors. It was a little more difficult to work with, but once I got the right needles, thanks to all of you and people on Instagram, it wasn't terrible to work with. Walking foot and big needles. I used like size 18 needles. This is, I think, the 6th vest I've sewn up in the past 6 or 7 years. If I say here that I'm sewing another vest, please stop me. I don't need any more vests. I need spring weight jackets that can handle wind and maybe a little bit of precipitation. So call me out if I say I'm making a vest. I may still make it anyways, but I need to be reminded that there are a bunch of vests in my closet and I don't wear them that often. This one will be worn more than those other ones because this is one for going out in the elements. Now you can see that this coordinates with this. And when I bought this soft shell fabric at Loiseau Fabrics here in Calgary, at the same time I bought winter white denim for a pair of Creston jeans and winter white jersey for a t-shirt. Still trying to decide which t-shirt pattern I will use. It's just going to be something basic. Maybe I'll use this pattern again and I will do the dartless FBA. But the next project I'm working on is a collaboration with Izzy of Dizzy Quilts and Sews. As it turns out, it's a Canadian collaboration. Izzy's in Montreal, which is on the east coast of Canada. I'm in Calgary, which is on the west coast of Canada. We are making the Esmond Cargo pants from Cashmerette Club. And I'm cutting them out right now. I've done my toile, but I'm cutting out the fabric right now and I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the fabric that I'm using. This is rayon twill. Very drapey, quite lightweight, but it works with this and with this and with some of the things that I sewed last year for my spring wardrobe. So it feels like a plan is coming together, and I'm not going to have as many orphans in my closet this year. But you'll see these, I think it's in about a week. We're going to release the collab videos. I just want to add one thing about patterns too. I'm very consciously trying to balance using Cashmerette Club patterns and patterns that are available without a membership somewhere. Because I know not everybody wants to join a club, and I like to talk about patterns that maybe you would be interested in making, but you don't want to join a club. I completely understand that, and I am trying to balance that. Plus, I also have a closet full of patterns that I need to use. So, don't think that I'm just making Cashmerette Club patterns, because I'm not. Friday Sews, as you know, was created by Jen of Today in Jen's Sewing Room. If you enjoy this type of content and you do not yet follow the hashtag Friday Sews, search for it here on YouTube. And you'll find a bunch of videos that are similar to this with people sharing what they're working on, their plans, and what's going on in life. Jen asks us a question every week, and this week's question is about sewing and gardening. I'm not really thinking about gardening yet. We still have snow on the ground, although it's been unseasonably warm. We could have deep snow in May still, so I'm not really thinking much about sewing for the garden. I do have our spring decor out in the house. I've got these ceramic bunnies that I've carried around for years and years, and the bunnies are out, which means that spring is on the way. But if I do anything sewing related for the garden, it would likely just be to make some new cushions for the Adirondack chairs. In terms of life, as I said at the beginning of the year, one of my goals is to become not just more fit, but a little more healthy and take care of my body. And I did join a gym, and I've done a good job so far of going at least 4 times a week in the morning. This particular gym has a really beautiful aquatic center. So there's a big pool for floating or for kids to play, deep water for workouts, and there's a lap pool. I was a lifeguard when I was in high school, and I loved to swim. I started swimming when I was 6 months old. I was one of those kids that was taken to the Y and just thrown in the water and told, swim, and I did. And I haven't really had an opportunity to swim since we lived in Florida and we had a pool. And even then it was a little pool, you couldn't really swim laps. So I've just been loving going to the pool and swimming laps in the morning. I don't do it every day, but 2 or 3 times a week. It's a very Zen-like experience for me. And it might not be the quickest way to lose weight, but when I get out of the pool, I'm physically tired and my body feels good. And as I've talked about posture, one of the things I know about swimming is you start building those shoulder and back muscles, and hopefully it helps you to stand a little bit taller. So that's mostly what I've been working on. We've had some other stuff going on at home. Bowling. Oh, we bowl in a league. I'm a terrible bowler. This week, I bowled 3 strikes in the final frame of the 3rd game. It was very exciting. I know, if you don't bowl, you're like, oh God, nothing sounds worse. I was quite excited. I hope that you've had a wonderful couple of weeks, and I think that Izzy and I are going to be posting our Esmond capris next week, so that should be next week's video. Thank you, as always, for stopping by and spending some time with me. I hope everything is great in your world, and I'll see you soon.